Imagine a peak that demands life in exchange for glory. Today we will tell you about the deadliest mountains, where every expedition could be your last. Annapurna the First, a peak that attracts the world's best climbers, but which claims more lives than almost any other 8,000er. 8,091 meters above sea level, where the air is so thin that every mistake seems fatal. This is not a place for spectacle or light-hearted stories. Annapurna has long been famous for its terrible statistics and grim legends of base camp. Don't scroll any further if you want to know the truth. For decades, the mortality rate here has exceeded 30%, meaning that 1 in 3 who attempted to climb did not return home. Snow slides and avalanches sweep people off the route in an instant, burying not only their bodies but also their dreams, photographs, and last letters that will never be read. Unpredictable weather is another cunning enemy. A sunny dawn can turn into a blizzard, and a warm storm mixes ice and snow so that even experienced guides are lost in choosing a safe route. Many came here to prove something to themselves, but the mountain does not judge by ambition, it punishes, according to the laws of physics and the instability of snowy slopes. The base camp itself tells stories about the climbers who have died here, and these stories contain more gaps than answers. Warm sleeping bags, forgotten gloves, the last cup of tea, and then silence, broken only by the footsteps of those who remain. Sherpas, who are often not mentioned in headlines, sometimes pay the highest price. They are the first to enter dangerous areas, paving the way, supporting the ropes, and sometimes leaving forever, remaining in the white emptiness of the mountain. Many family stories are cut short here forever. Letters from mountain shelters and climbing records have become memorable pages for loved ones, which now turn into unanswered letters. If you think that modern equipment and weather forecasts make climbing completely safe, think again. Technology helps, but it does not negate the natural power of snow masses and the unpredictability of the peaks. There are cases when people lost their bearings, strayed from the trail, and found themselves trapped. A small mistake in choosing a route, and rescue becomes almost impossible due to weather conditions and remoteness. Every summer and every fall, stories of the lost return to the world. The names of climbers, their biographies, dreams, and photographs fly around forums and groups where people try to understand why Annapurna takes so many. This mountain seems to test not only the strength of the body, but also the spirit. Some give up at high altitudes, some go further, but the price is sometimes too high. At base camp, you hear stories of how comrades held on to each other until the very end, of courageous rescue attempts that ended tragically. Such stories linger in the mind and do not let go, serving as both a warning and an attraction. It is impossible not to think about the motives. What drives a person to take such a risk when the probability of not returning is so high? For some, it is a search for the limits of their abilities. For others, a professional challenge. And for some, following tradition and the desire to leave a mark in the history of mountaineering. Annapurna presents harsh conditions and makes no exceptions. Avalanches, steep icy slopes, and the chances of being caught in a snow mass are many times higher than on other peaks. Fatalities here often occur precisely because of avalanches and landslides, which can sweep away a person and their equipment attached to the route, making rescue impossible. Even experienced experts emphasize that climbing Annapurna is almost always a matter of correctly calculating the time and weather window, and there is little that can be done when nature decides otherwise. Don't think that these are just statistics on paper. Behind the 30% are real lives, families, interrupted stories, and an endless journey of memories for those left behind. Every climbing report has a line mentioning the names of those who did not return, and these lines become a kind of grim list that is read in frightening silence. Perhaps it is this combination of beauty and cruelty that makes Annapurna a magnet for those seeking a challenge. It is beautiful, majestic, and ruthless at the same time. Don't leave now. Think of those who lost friends and comrades on its slopes, those who returned with eyes full of emptiness, and those who are no longer in the photographs of their family albums. If you plan to explore the stories of ascents, you will find not only touching accounts of victories, but also confessions of fear, regrets, and lessons that often come too late. In some cases, rescue comes by miracle, sometimes thanks to the courageous and selfless actions of Sherpas and guides, but more often than not, it is a battle that only the mountain wins. The list of reasons why people die on Annapurna is long, from technical errors to natural disasters, and all of them remind us how fragile human life is in the mountains. Many professional climbers say that you have to respect the mountain and its rules, but statistics show that respect does not always save you from fatal circumstances. And, in the end, there remains a question that many ask themselves in the silence of the camp. Is it worth the risk when the price is someone's life? When the chance of not returning is so great? This is a difficult question with no single answer, but the stories of Annapurna teach caution, respect, and understanding that nature does not need proof, and that people sometimes pay too high a price for their ambitions. If you are reading this and thinking about adventure, remember, a great achievement can turn into a great tragedy. And Annapurna is one of those tests where the stakes are highest. And yet, even in this darkness, there is room for remembrance. Those who remain live on in stories, in memorial photos, and in the hearts of the mountaineering community, which remembers and honors their feats. This mountain takes lives, but it also inspires. And in its shadows, stories of bravery and loss are born, stories worth listening to if you want to understand the price people pay for their desire to be higher. Don't leave without thinking about those who did not return. Their names are like letters on a monument that is constantly covered by snow. Their stories are a reminder that even the most prepared can be helpless in the face of the elements. Annapurna remains a challenge, a test, and a reminder that life in the mountains is always a balance between ambition and fear, and that sometimes the summit takes too much. I don't want to leave you in complete darkness, but I want you to feel the seriousness and grandeur of this place. It is beautiful, terrifying, and merciless, and the memory of those who died here is what remains after the snow. 2 is not just the second highest peak on Earth. It is a test that separates those who return from those who remain forever in the icy abyss. Chogori, on the border between Pakistan and China, rises to a height of 8,611 meters, and it immediately becomes clear. Here, its own rules reign, and they do not forgive mistakes. Don't leave. This is not a beautiful story about victory over the elements. It is a story about how difficult it is to survive, where the air itself tries to stop you in your tracks. K2 is both glorified and cursed. It attracts the best teams in the world, but demands a high, specific, and bitter price in return. The mortality rate here is about 25%, meaning that almost every fourth risk, every climbing attempt, could be the last. And this is not an abstract figure. On a chart behind it are names, family histories, unmourned funerals, and empty sleeping bags at base camp. The horror of K2 lies not only in its height, although the height itself demands sacrifices. Breathing becomes shallow, the brain loses clarity, strength melts away on the way up, but the main lethal weapons are the narrow, exposed ridges, where one wrong step is equivalent to a fall, and sudden, deadly avalanches that sweep away people, ropes, and hopes so quickly that rescue is often impossible. This is a mountain that has no tolerance for mediocrity. Experienced climbers here are confronted with things that cannot be overcome by pure skill, weather that changes in a matter of minutes, unstable snow cover that holds one day and turns into a white death machine the next. And one more thing on K2, there are almost no wide support umbrellas. Ascents often take place on technical routes where there is no room for mass evacuations, where help sometimes does not come simply because no one is physically able to reach the victim. This makes every trip more dangerous and every choice fatal. Exciting hook phrases? Here's one. Imagine you're walking along a ridge as wide as your palm. The wind is tearing everything away, and below you is a 100-meter free fall, and behind you is a group counting on your judgment. Tempting, dangerous. Another hook. Have you heard of those who returned and remain silent? Their eyes are empty. They know who the mountain has buried. And sometimes they remain silent for years because words cannot convey what they have experienced. K2 kills in different ways. Some are taken instantly by an avalanche, some are swept away by a storm, and some are suffocated by altitude sickness, which comes on suddenly and robs them of strength, willpower, and chance. Some perish on the descent when it seems that everything is behind them. Mountains know how to wait and punish at the very moment when a person thinks they have won. The stories of base camp are full of grim details. Backpacks tied to the snow, broken ropes, the last entries in diaries, found later in a tent, and becoming the only reminder of a person. The Sherpas and porters, who are often mentioned in passing in articles, pay a huge price for helping others. Their names do not always make it into the newspapers, but they remain in the memory of those who have returned. Simple formulas for success do not work here. Training, money, and modern equipment are all important, but nothing can guarantee against a fatal combination of circumstances. K2 is called the Wild Mountain for a reason. Its character is unpredictable, its face changes from hour to hour, and anyone who thinks they can read it risks being cruelly deceived. Why do people still go? Here's another hook for your curiosity. Some go for glory, some for proof of their own immortality, and some to test the limits of what is possible. But no achievement is worth the lives that this mountain takes. Consider the statistics. About 25% is not just a statistical marker. It is an invitation to reflect on the meaning of risk. Every name, every life lost is a lesson for the mountaineering community. And sometimes those lessons come at a high price. Reports of tragedies often mention collective guilt, pressure from the team, haste, the desire to climb at any cost, and suddenly several people find themselves trapped. Climbing requires discipline, humility before nature, and a clear understanding that even the most experienced leader cannot control everything. But there is also a strange, oppressive beauty. The mountain remains an object of worship because there is something primitive in its severity, something that compels people to return despite the tragic examples. This attraction to danger is another motivator that pushes people to take risks, and sometimes to their deaths. If you are looking for drama, there is plenty of it here. If you are looking for lessons, there are even more. After all, K2 is a place where human pride collides with nature, and the result is often tragic. Don't forget those who didn't return. Their names are not just lines in reports. They are a reminder that behind every number there is a life, and that sometimes the summit takes too much. Kanchenjunga is not just the third highest peak in the world, it is a mountain whose name commands both respect and awe. It stands on the border between Nepal and India and soars 8,586 meters into the sky, but the number itself does not convey its character and severity. Stop for a moment and imagine you are walking along an icy ridge, the wind cutting your face, clouds blocking your path, and there is almost no chance of rescue below. Many who have returned have seen this picture, and their eyes are never the same again. Don't scroll past if you care about the truth about a mountain where too many people die. The mortality rate on Kanchenjunga is about 20%, and this is not just a statistic. In a report behind it are real names, families, and stories cut short at high altitude. A thrill for those who love extreme experiences. Imagine hearing the snow crunching under your feet and realizing that this may be the last sound you ever hear. Think about how thin the ice is under your boots, and how poor visibility turns your friends into ghosts and the route into a puzzle where every step could be fatal. Avalanches on Kanchenjunga spare no one. They come suddenly, sweeping down the slopes with streams of snow that sweep away tents, equipment, and people. And often no technology can help because it happens in an instant. In the distance to help is kilometers of despair and time that is running out. A poorly visible path, white fog, and blinding snow cover turn the summit into a trap where landmarks disappear, and experience and training, no matter how solid, are sometimes powerless against the elements. Many climbers die on Kanchenjunga not because of incompetence, but because of a combination of circumstances. The weather changes in a matter of minutes, the cold wind dulls, the brain's attention, the altitude saps strength, and even a competent calculation of the rescue window may not help. The stories of base camp are full of grim details. Empty sleeping bags left behind in a hurry or after a tragedy, diaries open at the last entry, photographs that have now become memorial plaques for those left behind. Sherpas and local guides, often left without proper recognition, pay for the ambitions of others with their own lives. Their names sometimes flash in reports, but more often live on in the memory of the community where every extinguished light is remembered. There are cases when people lost their bearings in a blizzard and disappeared forever. There are stories of climbs that ended on the descent, when fatigue takes its toll and it seems that the danger is behind them, and then the mountain strikes a decisive blow. Why do people still go? Here's another hook for your curiosity. Some go for glory, some for personal boundaries, some to prove to themselves that they are capable of the impossible. But no achievement is worth the lives that now lie under the snow and ice. Kanchenjunga teaches costly lessons. Discipline, humility before nature, and a willingness to give up ambition for the sake of a comrade's life are what sometimes save people, but these lessons come at a price that is difficult to call fair. Reports of tragedies often mention the word mistake, but it may not be a technical error, but a combination of factors: the team's haste, misjudgment of the weather window, pressure from those around them, and personal pride that pushes them further when it is time to stop. And yet there is a lot of humanity in these stories. There are tales of how comrades held the rope until the very end, of courageous rescue attempts that sometimes ended in success but often in tragedy, and such episodes remain in the community's memory as evidence of both courage and loss. Cameras and gadgets can record the steps to the summit, but they cannot convey the silence after an avalanche. They cannot tell of the phone call home that never happened, and they cannot bring back those who became part of the mountain. Perhaps it is the combination of beauty and mortal danger that makes Kanchenjunga a magnet for those seeking the ultimate experience. Its icy slopes inspire awe, but behind that awe lies a price paid by people and their loved ones. If you study the stories of the ascents, be prepared to encounter not only triumphs, but also deep pain, admissions of fear and regrets that sometimes sound unvarnished in the reports. Ultimately, Kanchenjunga is a test where human determination collides with the power of nature, and the result is often bitter. The names of those who have died remain on the lists, their photos hang in the camps, and their stories serve as a reminder of the price people pay for the summit. Remember their names, read their stories, and respect the mountain. Its demands are real, and the price is sometimes irreparable. Manaslu is not just a peak on a map. It is both a test and a silent threat. A mountain in Nepal, rising to 8,163 meters, where ice and rock combine with an invisible cruelty that is rarely shown in tourist footage. Pause to consider this. Manaslu seems more accessible than some of its neighbors, and that is what attracts those who want to test the limits of what is possible. But this facade is deceptive. Behind the soft whisper of the wind and the spectacular photographs lie avalanches, ice falls, hidden crevasses, and moments when a momentary mistake is your last step. Don't scroll past if you want to understand why so many people have died here. Statistics show an average mortality rate of about 10%, but be aware that for some routes and in certain seasons, this figure is much higher, and it's not an abstract number, but names, families, and unfinished stories. Imagine a team on the trail. The voices have died down, only the rhythm of footsteps and dies. The crackling of ice under crampons remain. And suddenly everything changes, a gust of wind, a new crevasse, and the person next to you disappears into the silence of the slope. That's the hook for your imagination, people. Leave thinking they are ready, but only a few return. and those who do often remain silent for a long time because words cannot convey what they have seen. It is not only beginners who perish on Manaslu. Those who have studied the mountains for many years also pay with their experience, because an avalanche does not ask who is standing in front of it, and altitude fatigue erases skill and common sense. Sherpas and local guides, those who most often remain behind the scenes, pay a heavy price. Their names rarely make the headlines, but they are often the first to take risks, paving the way, setting up ropes, and helping others climb, and their families bear the same pain when equipment and dreams are left under the snow forever. At base camp, there are stories of late-night phone calls, unsent messages, and things that lost their meaning after one expedition. Favorite gloves, a diary, a photograph, and an empty seat at the dinner table. Why do people keep going? Here's another hook. For many, it's not about ratings and likes, but about personal limits, a test that must be passed. For others, it's a profession where the stakes are life itself, and reputation is more important than rest. But none of these motives make the climb safe. Technology and equipment have saved many, but they have not eliminated the fatal force of natural processes. Mistakes in choosing a weather window, rushing due to group pressure, misjudging the condition of a glacier, all this turns into tragedy, and it often happens that disaster strikes when it seems that the worst is already behind you. There are dark pages in the history of Manaslu. Avalanches, mass landslides, cases when the weather closed the passes and rescue operations were simply impossible. Sometimes tragedy struck at a moment of celebration when the summit had been conquered, and it seemed that the worst was behind them, and the mountain delivered its decisive blow at that very moment. If you are a fan of powerful stories, pay attention to the fates of those who did not return. Their names can be found in reports, but often their stories remain behind the scenes, in the memories of comrades and families who are learning to live with emptiness. These losses shape the culture of caution in mountaineering. Lessons learned at the cost of lives influence the decisions of subsequent expeditions, the choice of routes, and safety requirements. But these lessons come slowly and dearly. Don't think that these are just horror stories for the sake of drama. Manaslu has its own magic, its beauty and solitude, the opportunity to feel the present when life is compressed into a single breath. It is this duality, attraction, and danger that makes the mountain a whole, parable for the mountaineering community. And yet, when talking about Manaslu, it is essential to mention the price it demands. The average mortality rate is around 10% and much higher on some routes. This is an invitation to reflect on the meaning of risk and responsibility to your companions. In conclusion, if you are seriously considering climbing, remember one rule: respect the mountain, respect its unpredictability and the people who pay for the ambitions of others with their lives. Remember the names of those who did not return, their stories a warning and a memory at the same time. Manaslu is beautiful but cruel. It inspires and kills, and this is its truth, which is dangerous to ignore. Pause for a moment and think, are you ready to pay the price that sometimes has to be paid for the summit? And remember, behind every beautiful photo on social media, there may be a story of loss. Respect for the mountain and the ability to give up can save not only you, but also those who walk beside you. Think about this before packing your backpack. This is more important than medals and records. And now that you've heard stories about the deadliest peaks on the planet, try to think about why people still go there. What makes them challenge mountains that forgive neither mistakes nor weakness again and again? The answer is perhaps simple and terrifying at the same time. There is something more to these peaks than just height. It's not just the kilometers above sea level, the cold, or the records. It's a call ancient, almost mystical, that only those who are not afraid to look death in the eye can hear. But every attempt to conquer a mountain has its price, and too often it proves fatal. Every avalanche, every landslide, every sudden storm is a reminder that man is only a guest here, not the master. Mountains are not interested in our goals, fame, or dreams. They simply exist, majestic, cold and indifferent. And perhaps it is this indifference that makes them so attractive. We call these peaks beautiful, dangerous, deadly. But behind each of these words are destinies, climbers who did not return, friends who waited, families who continue to believe that the mountain will one day release their loved ones. Their names will forever remain in expedition lists, in rocks, in the wind, in the rustle of snow at high altitudes. Each of these stories is a reminder to us that there is a fine line between bravery and recklessness, that human strength is great, but nature is always stronger. And perhaps the true greatness of a climber is not in conquering the summit, but in recognizing its power and surviving without ceasing to respect it. So, if one day you look at a mountain and feel its silence beckoning you, remember those who have already taken that step and never returned. Mountains do not forget. They take and they keep, but they also inspire and teach. They teach us to understand life, the price of breath, the value of every step. These are not just stories about height, they are stories about human fragility and the eternal quest to reach the impossible. Thank you for being with us. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and remember, sometimes the most beautiful places on Earth are the most dangerous, and that is why they should be treated with respect.